Good night. Welcome back to Tactical Chile. We are back, Charlie. How are you, my friend?
I am good. How are you, Patricio?
Not too bad, not too bad. A little bit tired, but
Patricio?
all good. Yeah. Juan?
Patricio? Juan?
Do we have Juan today? No, not Juan.
We don't have one today. We have two.
We have two. Excellent. Now it's good to be back. We been trying to do some small videos during the week, and yeah, this is the first record or the first live that we have after ANZTC, um, and it's really good to be back. We have a quite interesting trip um, in Australia. Will you say that, Charlie?
It was. I mean, it was your first time, so
Yeah, yeah. Was the
yeah.
first time.
My
Well,
first time
actually,
to Tasmania, so that was really good.
yeah, my first time to Australia. Period. I have
Oh,
never been
lots
there.
of cherries for you.
Yeah, a lot of cherries for me. But it was quite cool. I wish that I had a little bit more time to go around in Tasmania and maybe a little bit more in Melbourne. But it is fine. Was a really cool experience. Was quite interesting. I will say. Was a fun trip. Um, we had a couple of night off there. We gathered with the usual suspects, Tate, Ryan, and the rest of the team, Michael, Finn. Went to the casino. That was very good. Quite
It
enjoyed
was.
the I did just drink over there, and I saw a bunch of people losing money, a couple winning, but the best part was the losing money, I guess. And
That was pretty good.
$16 beer. That was also highlight
Yes, that was
of the
crazy. Alcohol in Melbourne is next level.
next level. Yeah, but we are talking about ourselves, and we have somebody that's way more interesting than us. Every time that has been here, Michael pump our numbers up.
Yeah,
We are very happy to have him again. This time, he was the captain for Team New Zealand North. Um, so we are. I'm going to have a talk with him about this 2025 edition. And yeah, further introduction. Let's bring Michael in. Give me one
let's
second.
do it. Kia
Hi,
ora,
Michael. How
Michael.
are you?
Good evening. How are we all?
Not bad, not bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited to be back for number
Another
four,
episode for
five.
Michael.
It's close to
This
five,
is
I think.
five.
Has it been
Close to it.
5?
Maybe
Wow.
maybe four. I think it's the fourth.
I think it's 5. You're right. We may we at some point we will need to include Michael. Man, like it's been
Yeah.
very repeated.
I expect a special episode when I hit 10.
Yeah.
Like a
If we
celebration
ever
episode, a plaque.
monetize, we'll give you 5 cents. You know,
It's like a
'cause
YouTube plaque. I want to put it on the wall here.
a YouTube plaque. We'll do a tax.
Yeah.
You have so many trophies though. Just put that on the wall.
They're hidden away. They don't really work on a wall. So
Yeah, we could potentially do a an event as the Tactical Chili YouTube GT and just keep some trophies related to YouTube. I don't know, something
We
to
only
think about.
only invite people that have been on the show.
Kind of,
That'll be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That'll be interesting. Almost like
yeah,
a
with
Masters.
like, yeah, almost. But yeah, it was quite cool experience, Michael. Well, you have been there. This this was your what, fifth time there?
Not quite. No, only third. I've been part of the team since 2020. But of course, 2020 it didn't happen. 2021 it didn't happen. So I've attended in. I don't think 2022 it happened either. So I've attended in 23, 24, 25 now. I think sounds about right.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right. I think 2023 was the first year we all went back.
Yes,
Oh,
For yeah,
COVID, yeah.
it might
yeah.
have been on in 2022. I think from memory it was, but we just decided that the decision to run it was quite late and we weren't prepared enough, and we decided we'd wait and prepare for 2023.
Yeah, I think we were still worried that there'll be random lockdowns and restrictions, and it was still very much up in the air at that point.
Yeah,
That
travel
makes
was a bit
sense.
uncertain. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Michael, I mean, first time captaining the ANZTC. Do you, for our new listeners that don't know what that event is, do you want to just give them a brief overview on why we go to this particular event?
Yeah, sure. So ANZTC stands for the Australian New Zealand Team Championship. So think any team event you've attended, but for this one, sort of like a mini WTC, you represent your state, or for New Zealand, the not really two islands, but the north and south part of New Zealand. So every state in Australia, all 8 of them, and I can't name them. Um, and then North New Zealand and South New Zealand, which we've divided by where the population sort of divide is. So I think it's Rotorua is where we cut the line. Can each send a team. It's hosted in a different state or city every year. Team of 8, so you select your best 8 players from your state or your region, and you go along and compete for the glory.
Now, I heard a rumor this year that New Zealand was split into 2 teams because we got too good before COVID, and they had to spread the good plays around.
A little bit before COVID, I think. But yes, back
Yeah.
if you look at the trophy, New Zealand does feature a fair few times in the early 2010s era. Um, since then, we've split and we've got 2 competitive teams now. But at the moment,
Mm.
yes, we have done historically quite well in the past. We used to go. I say we. I wasn't playing 40K at the time. If I was like painting and playing in GW stores. But no, we used to go over and kick their ass a little bit. It's sort of flipped on its head a bit now. We're playing catch up, but it's still an awesome event to be able to go to and put our best foot forward. And cool now that we've got 2 regular teams attending.
Yep.
So for a couple of years, yeah, it was still only a New Zealand team, but they still wanted to be New Zealand North. So really, it was a New Zealand North team attending. So cool now that we do have
Mm.
a New Zealand North and a New Zealand South team for 3 years in a row now, going and attending each year.
Yeah, that's been really cool to see. What's Pato doing? Pato, your
Just
keyboard's real loud, by the way.
I'm
You got to
very
get
loud. Yes.
cherry reds.
Yeah.
I've been well off the cherry blues for a long time. You got to get
Got to
those
stick with the
reds or
blues.
those browns. The sun, no.
Oh man, it's a Stormcrow. It's a bloody very very cool um, keyboard that I stole from my son.
Fair enough.
So, Michael, first year captaining the team. Tell us what was the strategy going in and who was on the team. You can't name all 8 states of Australia. Can you name all 8 players on your team?
I hope so. So the decision for me to captain was a bit of a late one. Finn originally was going to captain this year. He had
Of
a
course.
trip
Yeah.
to Japan planned, and I was always sort of running as the assistant to the regional manager in the team, so sort of supporting him as captain. Um, but because he was going to be away for the last sort of month of prep, he decided, and he was not going to continue to apply to be captain, so he asked me if I wanted to take over it a couple of months out and run the team this year, just so I could be on the ground running the prep and the lead up, and then there as the captain. So I took that over sort of about 2 or 3 months out. And this year, stellar lineup was myself on Sisters of Battle. Finn Decker was there on Dakar Orcs, unnerfed Dakar Orcs.
I
Bit of
nerfed that
contention
comic.
about that one, but it because of the timing of the event and the cutoffs of rules, decided unnerfed Dakar Orcs was there. We had Pato, the man himself, on Necrons. We had Tate, uh, fan of the show, on GSC Final Day.
Mr. Late Hobby.
Mr. Late Hobby himself. We had Ben Clark on Guard, Alex Dugmore on Blood Angels, the old man himself of 40K New Zealand, Hayden Korach on Yanari, and then we had one more person who I'm going to have to try and remember who this is. Who else did we have?
Grey
I
Knights.
knew
Grey
I'd
Knights. Grey
Grey
Knights.
Knights. My 311 buddy, 211 buddy this year, Cam. Cam was
Literally your
on.
suitcase, buddy.
Literally, we flew over together and wore suitcase and shared a suitcase. Cam was on Grey Knights this year, so that was our playing 8. We also had Matt Strange, who came over as our coach. Initially, we had 3 or 4 coaches, so he was very much going to be the vibes coach. As it
Yes.
panned out, we had players drop. Pato Ritter, you were going to coach. We had players drop, so you were promoted into the starting lineup. Charlie, you were going to coach, and then you jumped over and streamed the event, which was awesome. So we had a lot of coverage back here in New Zealand. And then Chris Bowles was going to be our other coach. Unfortunately, got unwell the night before we flew out. So Matt went from the vibes coach to the only and head coach. And a huge shout out to him, because with no hope, he did an awesome job corralling you guys into getting scores and helping me figure out how we were going through the rounds. So it was awesome to have him there as well. So that was our traveling 9 or 10. You were sort of there, Charlie. You were in a uniform. You were
I
part
was
of the
there.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, I got you a
that
cup of
was
water at some point.
yeah,
I
yes.
think we did. Yeah.
That was interesting because, as you say, Michael, we started with 3 or 4 coaches, and the head coaches was jumping down, and
Mm.
oh yeah, you're the head coach. No, you're, and we ended up with the good. Um, Kind of unprepared. He was not there to. He wanted to be there to assist him with the drinks. That was
Mm.
his main sole purpose. And then he got us like, okay, cool. So now I need to step up, and he did an amazing job. He actually, I think he did a very very good job. Charlie, you help him a little bit with what you learned on WTC coaching last year and the year before, and that I think helped him to step up on the role.
Yeah, I think the good thing is ANZTC is not as, I guess, hardcore as WTC is. There's no really that much scrutiny. The players don't call a judge over as soon as you get close, kind of thing. So it's quite a nice environment for Matt to
Mm.
get into the coaching role as well. Everyone's generally quite friendly. Yeah, so
Yes.
Yeah, there was a minor chance he was going to have to play, and he sort of said to me, I'm not really keen to play. I don't want to. I can if you need me to.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm happy to step in and coach. And yeah, to your point, it follows all the rules of WTC, so very much a good practice run.
yeah,
Um, but yes, then people aren't nearly as sticklers. Yeah, we followed it to the letter of the law. Like every time he came over and showed me something, I'd always offer to my opponent, here it is. You're allowed to read this first before I can read it. As I read it, you can read it, which is great to just to get into the habit of it,
yeah,
um, and be open and honest about stuff. But
yeah.
none of my opponents particularly cared much. They'd take
No,
a look at it and usually joke with me about what was on there, and I would usually joke with them. So
yeah,
it's a very relaxed atmosphere.
yeah. I mean, almost did have to play right with that round. That Pato got sick,
Round
didn't feel
4.
well. Yeah,
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That now that would have been a trial by combat if he came
yeah,
in and played round 4 of the event, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. Yeah, that would have been a real step up.
yeah. So going into the event, I guess we've got the starting lineup, and as I understand it, some of the factions were last-minute changes to adjust because of rules we're expecting. Like Daka wasn't nerfed in time, and
Mm.
made it through to the rules lock. And I know Finn had to last-minute pivot back to Daka, and we didn't really plan on actually running that. So, do you want to run us through some of the prep and yeah, because we only had a couple of weeks before flying out
Yeah.
from list submission. Yeah, what are some of the things we pivoted to and the strategy and kind of thought behind that?
Yeah, so we had a lot of pivots in that last 2 weeks. So yeah, as you said, rules cutoff was 3 weekends beforehand. Daka orcs hadn't been nerfed in that time. The intel that we all sort of had collectively was that they were going to get nerfed probably in the coming weeks.
Yeah,
The teams voted on extending the rules cutoff by 1 week. So basically doing rules cutoff and list sub pretty much on the same, or very close to each other. Unfortunately, yeah, Daka Orcs survived that week, and we couldn't extend it any further, so they were just in play. So that made that decision very simple. But the challenge there was all the intel we had said they were going to get nerfed before that, so we were working on the assumption that we weren't going to take them, and we're figuring out what else to take. So that kind of threw a spanner in the works. And then a few of our players, we had a few sort of early locks, which was good. So we knew Hayden was always going to play Eldar.
yeah,
We pretty
Yes.
early on locked Pato onto Necrons. Pato and Tate both being our sort of new bloods we wanted to bring in this year and expose to the international competitive scene for New Zealand North. And we sort of identified quite early that the best thing for Tate and yourself, Pato, was to lock factions relatively early in comparison to some of the rest of us who were locking a couple of weeks out, so that you had the stability and had a clear direction of what we needed you to do. So you guys were pretty early on. Hayden was pretty locked early on. Ben has been playing guard ever since WTC, so it made sense that he stayed on that. So that was again another early lock. So it was really the other 4 of us that was sort of bouncing between, and there was all sorts of iterations. Cam and I went through 4 or 5 factions in like a week sometimes. Like
yeah,
I was running Vanguard or Ultramarines to Custodes
Yeah.
to Chaos Knights to uh, I looked at Admech briefly then it was Sisters, and that's where we ended up locking. Cam was saying he bounced in a bunch of them. So I think the challenge we started to find, and I don't think we got quite right in the end with our lineup, was we had a lot of hunters, not a lot of attackers, and a lot of swords that could go put a score up. And so we had a lot of sort of accepting a 10-10 with limited ability to change the game state and push anything bigger. So that was probably a downfall of our team selection. But overall, we were sort of relatively happy with where we landed, given the prep time that we had, which was limited. And I will admit that this year we were, with the cloud of WC hanging over the majority of us in the team, it did sort of cloud a bit of our preparation. So it certainly could have been better, because a lot of us sort of saw this as a stepping stone. Whereas I think next year we want to sort of really separate this out from the team and go, this is a thing in itself that we prepare for, rather than a step on the road to the WTC, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I think the late Decker change back and having to now include it is not just you now need someone to play Decker or make that decision. It's also what are the 2 or 3 lists that you want to go into it, because that's also a huge decision, right? That doesn't just get 20, as we
Correct.
saw at their event. Yeah, so it changes 30% of your composition.
Yep, and that was the decision that put me on Sisters, was we need a way to blunt them. It's why we were happy keeping Tate where he was, and it sort of threw a bunch of spinners in the works. It sounds simple, one faction you order takes, it's the best faction in the game, but the flow-on effects of Finn then need to go back to that, and then us then to counter it, and then the people that are countering it and Finn changing factions, which now flows into everyone else in the team, and changes the team comp. I think we probably didn't have enough time to let those flow-on effects go through and figure out what that meant for the team. So we not say we're unhappy with our lineup, and we certainly did about as well as we wanted to, but we if we critically look at it and sit back, we probably could have made a couple of changes to that lineup.
Yep, and I think that's the difference between we what did we come in the end, 5th overall?
5th.
Yeah, so with separates from the middle of the pack, top 5 versus podium.
Yep, and we didn't really take any teams lists either, was probably the thing. As a lot of teams will do in teams events, is you fall back onto strong singles lists, which is fine because it's what we had come from and what we had practice on. But we didn't really try anything different or force any lists that in a team format work, because you can protect them and you can trap certain kinds of lists with them. Instead, we just stuck to our guns on if we're going to have limited prep, then we need to stick with things people know. We kind of went with that idea of stick with the what people know and trust and have reps with, rather than try to force something a bit weird with limited prep. I think in next year that's something we're gonna we'll really start talking about is how do we get better prep so that we can look into bringing something a little bit different and something that people might not expect.
Yeah, especially in 8 when you can skew quite hard for a couple of the players just to really go hunt the high scoring differentials, right?
Yep.
No, definitely.
I think the one of the that you mentioned, Michael, the fact that some players managed to lock early also helped to keep a little bit stable, because you had that base there. Mostly defenders was the ones that we had locked, but I think we were kind of trying to look for that extra final punch, but we ended up adding maybe too much defenders at the end of the day, which you can see in our scores. Where we did not blow any of the scores, but we keep it all very close, except for the 2. That there is 2 there that we kind of like went very bad for us.
Yeah, it's a couple of askew results here and there, and a couple of rounds that didn't go our way. But I mean, in those rounds, we were all largely keeping games close, but losing close. And I think that was the problem, is we had a losing close lineup, which into tough teams, our lineup was designed to lose close, which isn't going to get you across the line. We needed to find a way to engineer draws into those teams, which we didn't really have the tools to do.
Yes, but to be honest, we were twice in the second place, which was quite interesting too. We
Yeah,
were
going into
twice in the second spot. The last round we were second,
yeah,
and we went to with the hope or that we could get across the line that result of the last round and get the second spot.
yeah,
But yeah, it was not that bad. I think for, as you say, for the prep that we have and a little bit of the that I think was quite decent.
yeah.
There
Agreed.
is a question from Dave Louis. Can you speak to why you choose to use Elder as the first put forward in every round across WTC and ANCTC? I don't think that is because that ANCTC pretty much I was the first drop in every single round except the fourth one.
Yeah, so we did, I think, a couple of rounds we put Hayden forward first, and I can describe a bit why in those rounds we did. So yeah, primarily we put Pato forward, and the idea there was that some of our lists had multiple red matchups, and if we lead them out, you always have to assume that the other team has equally similar data to your own. So they would, if we knew their red matchups for a player, they should also know that they're red matchups and could then pin them and we'll lose them. So the idea was to, where possible, draw out the red matchups for those players or get it to a point where they couldn't trap them anymore. You get to their back end pairings. If they don't have them, potentially in hand still, we're all right and we take a bit of a risk. We probably get out of it fine. So usually we're leading Pato because Pato's list was designed to just blunt anything. It had a couple of bad matchups here and there, but largely if
Yeah,
it didn't have two red matchups, would usually send you forward. There were a couple of rounds where we did lead Hayden. I can't remember exactly why we like the exact details on why we would have led him, but generally it would have been because he was in a similar state where he probably didn't have great matchups across the board, or he had nothing terrible either,
I think
and
that
there
was
might have been
the
a round
fourth round, but that
into Queensland.
we
Okay,
put him
yeah,
against where I got Alex Terrason. Um,
yeah. So similar sort of idea where we probably looked at it at the time and went, look, his Pato, you might have had a couple of bad matchups in that round. Hayden might have
yeah,
been at a point where he had lots of, say, nines, so we knew we were never going to get a massive score out of him anyway. And if we
yeah.
could bait out something like Orcs or something that was going to terrorize the rest of our matrix with him, then he's our sacrificial lamb, and he goes forward and does that. So
I think that was the thinking on that one. I think Hayden was the one that had more raids or all the games were a small lost or a lost, and you're like, well, okay, cool. Let's
mm,
try to take something out with that, and then clean path for everybody else. I guess.
yeah, every round it sort of it differed slightly in terms of what we were trying to accomplish with who we opened up with. Um, generally it was someone that will we don't expect them to go out and win, and if they are, they're going to win small. But yeah, they'll clear the path, as you said, or they'll get rid of a problem. Generally, what we try to do earlier with the pairings is get rid of problems, so the back end of pairings we could try and come out of on top. So that was the general process. We certainly didn't lead Hayden all the time. I think we
Yeah,
led you probably 4 times. Hayden maybe once or twice.
I think was one, and I'm pretty sure I was every time except for that one, the first draw.
Yeah.
The
I, I, I was
yeah,
going to say it's because lead with the oldest people first. They need to finish their games early and go back to bed.
He does. He needed
true.
his nap time, so we wanted to give him enough time to play.
Yeah,
Um,
if Grandpa don't get his lunch and his nap, he gets very grumpy.
he does get grumpy. He is old. Yeah.
Um, yeah, Dave says that makes sense. Um, he's wondering why poor Hayden got the record that, but yeah, it is. Um, Sometimes that's what happened.
Mm.
You get a matchup that you think that should be all good, and sometimes you get like Tate got an anti-meta, the meta of the anti-meta or something like that with the Gorkanaut. I was like, oh yeah, should blunt this game, and there's the guy goes like, oh, I'm hunting GSC. It's like, ooh,
It's the unfortunate problem when you have one of the world's best GC players on your team. You can take the beat it, and that's the kind of example of something that you bring out for teams that in singles you would never, you wouldn't bring
Yeah,
as often. But an
correct.
example where our limited prep meant that we'd only really prepped for the sort of top meta armies. And you say, well, Walker's top meta army, but then you don't expect a Gorkanaut, so we don't really know what that changes, and we didn't
And
pick it up in
yeah,
pairings.
and maybe you see the Gorkanaut, and you when you are reviewing the list with not putting much of attention, and you see the Gorkanaut, it's like, what the heck? And you go like, this is stupid, and I should bring you think in your head, oh, that bring the list down, and then you put it differently, but actually it works. So those are things that I think you're right with the prep and the reps. You cannot test it, so you don't know. So you go by what you know, but it's not the full picture, basically.
Yeah,
I think using meta lists to set the preparation. I don't know. A big thing I learned this time is a lot of the top teams, they didn't run meta lists. Like teams is a completely different meta, especially Australia, who run a lot of off meta lists to counter the meta lists. And after pairings, I'm looking at some of the game progress and some of the tech starts coming out. I'm thinking, wow, we kind of just fell into that trap right there. Like the Gorkanaut was a really good example of that, was because we took GSC to blunt Daka Orcs. So they took a Daka Orcs to bait out GSC so they can counter GSC. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
they'd, we were preparing for the meta in front of us. They had already moved past that and were
yeah,
planning for how to beat the people that were going to prep for the meta. And that's
yeah,
just limited prep
yeah,
time, right? That's
yeah,
that's us not having enough time to play enough reps and prep beyond taking a strong list of factions, but not thinking what's everyone else going to do. So that kind of
yeah,
makes a lot of thinking that extra prep time gives you.
yeah. Should we, Palo, you want to bring up round one and have a look at
Yeah,
some of
I'm
our.
going to bring. Here we have the uh, pairings. So we go to round one. Let's see. So
So we had South Australia round one.
We did,
yes, so
yes.
we are mostly all of the rounds in table four because we had the streaming there, which was quite nice because we got to stay in the second floor all the time, which was amazing.
It was cooler. It had more space. It
And
didn't
better
have to go up
Nat-
and
light.
down in those lifts. Yeah,
natural lighting. That was
Yeah.
great.
yeah, it's a dream. It's the tech. Every year we're going to take a stream back, even if it's just a phone camera on like a little tripod. We're just going to be like, we're streaming. We need to stay here.
100%.
We can make that happen, Michael.
Good,
That's not a
good.
problem. So round one, South Australia. We knew about this matchup with a lot of anticipation. We knew the mission that we were playing against them. So the preparation for this one was, I guess, uh, something that was more close to be the the best, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably the best preparation we had for a round. As you said, with the WC last year, the first round you seemingly prep for the most because it's you're coming in, you're potentially gonna be a bit rusty. You've just travelled. It's the one you want to get right. You want to set the tone. South Australia beat us last year in the last round, I think, stopped us getting potentially third. So
Yeah, they
um,
came
you know
third.
we had a chip on our shoulder to beat them this year. And to start the event off on a good foot, we assumed that if we did well here, we were going to continue playing good teams. So we wanted to sort of start the event out right, and saw them as sort of similar to us in the sense of the sort of middle pack of chasing teams that could chase the top three if they had a good run. So we sort of went, this is a good first round to see where we're at this year.
Yeah.
So
So
how did this pairings go? Did we get all the matches we wanted, or
Yeah, I better go bring up the matrix. That'd be a smart thing to do. I had it open before. Hold on. So I can tell you all the sequence of what we had. So where are they? They are South
one
Australia.
second.
So we paired, according to our data, we paired incredibly well into this round. we paired a 94, so about 8 points above a win or a draw, the upper end of a draw. With according to our data, no losses, like all draws and wins. And this is the thing, right? You ask the other team, you go, how did you guys pair? And they go, oh, we paired all wins. And you're like, well, someone's clearly wrong here, and shows that how data is an imperfect science. It is incredibly important, but it's an imperfect science. In our prep, limited prep meant that our data was probably a little bit all over the place. But overall, we're pretty happy coming out of this. We had a pretty good plan. In terms of how we wanted to execute this, being up at 94 out of pairings, the plan was just play your games. We've got a lead according to our data. We don't need to do anything crazy. We dropped a few points down from where we sort of planned to be, but it was still just enough to scrape us into the win column for this round.
So, do you remember who we put down first and who they put down first?
I want to say we started to do it and then we stopped. So we did put Pato forward first. That is the data I have here. So we'd always plan this round to put Pato forward, and normally I can't see our whole matrix because we black out the pairings that have happened. So annoyingly I can't see it. I should have taken a copy of it before. But anyway, we put Pato forward first. Again, the similar thinking that he had pretty good pairings across the board. Generally as well, we wanted to test this theory that teams might throw orcs at you, in which case we wanted to try immediately to see if you could actually stop it. If you couldn't, then when you're going forward, that wasn't going to be a viable plan anymore. And if they put orcs forward against you, we should never take it. If you could, then we knew we had a plan going forward that if you were going to lead out and bait out the orcs, we'd take it. And in this round, you didn't end up playing the orcs. They didn't give it to us. Surprisingly, they did the same as we did basically all event, which was usually hold the orcs until the third round of pairings. And at that point, most of its matrix is out of the way, and it would either get a good matchup or it would soak a really tough matchup for us to free up the remaining 3 pairings. So yeah, you went forward first. I can't remember what you got given, but one of them was clearly Votan, and we decided to get that out of the way first and give that to you.
Got a comment from Andrew. Tassie boys say hello.
Hello.
There it is.
We didn't get to play you boys, unless my memory's really bad, but I'm pretty confident we didn't. But
No,
maybe next
they
year.
played next to us a few times. It's really cool.
Yes.
They did. Yeah, I think we played them last year. Maybe. I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah, I think it was for day one. Towards the end of day one, I think we played them. So, hello.
Yes, I got
Hope you guys
destroyed
had a good
by
event.
a lot of ion cannons. That's all I remember.
Thankfully, the best thing you guys did for us is you put up slightly less points than we did into Queensland. So thank you for not making us be the lowest scoring team in Queensland.
Excellent.
Pretty close though. Pretty close.
It was pretty close. They thumped most people.
So here, well, the round was overall we got the win. So that was Alex Dugmore here.
Yeah. That
Doing
was what we didn't expect. Yeah, we were down. We were down overall. If you look at some, we were pairing. Finn, I think, was the big one we didn't catch out, and I think what we missed there was that the mission we were playing. But how much prep we had, we missed the fact that this round was one of the ones where Battle Line can. I think it was action and shoot.
Yes.
So
Star
against
Wars.
Chaos Knights,
Yeah.
and we're playing create objectives, right? We're playing ritual.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
we missed that bit because initially we went, well, actually Dapper Orcs is pretty good into CK, except that they can then just create objectives wherever they want and still shoot them with everything and do all the action they need to do to score. So we got a bit caught out in that one and went down on that. And a couple other ones went a little bit worse than we were expecting. Hayden into Grey Knights we thought would be a little bit better than it ended up being. And I think maybe
Tate also
Tate
was
Tate
closer
again.
to it.
That was us testing the theory that Tate could blunt them, which is one of our ideas, and he held them back. But if you look at their orcs with our orcs sort of combined, you hope that we'd get sort of 20 points total out of it. We went a little bit down on that. So Doug Moore put his big ball pants on. Cam got a decent one as well.
Yes.
But especially Doug Moore sort of realized that he could put the foot down.
Yeah, I have to say that was such a roller coaster of a round format. Because Doug Moore would be going, oh, you know, come back after this fight activation. Oh, I'm -3, and then after 2 more fight activations, I'm now +3. So in differential points, +3 -3 doesn't sound like a lot. That's a 30 point, battle point swing for the
Yep.
outcome of the game, and it was just so unpredictable, that one. And he ended up coming back with a 20, which was actually not something we had called as well. So
No,
You
I think
blow
we had him.
the.
I think we had him on. Where is he here? Blood Angels into. We had him on a
but
15. Like we were
yeah,
confident he was going to win that big.
yeah,
But the nature of him winning it big meant that we took this round from a draw to a win. So
yes, that's right.
a very important you know, result there from Doug Moore.
Because that was
Yeah.
the Zinch Demon Pink Horror spam list, wasn't it? Just
Yes,
put
it
the
was.
demon on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think he just pushed him in and was like, "Good luck."
yeah.
I don't know exactly. I don't know. I was, my game's usually running pretty tight to time, but yeah, that was
You were
the.
on stream for this one as well, weren't you?
I was, yeah, I was on
Yeah,
the Chile stream against Yanari, not Yanari, Harlequins, because I
that's
hadn't
right.
seen
Harlequins,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if anyone wants to watch Michael in all his glory fighting some clowns, pop over to the one of the ANZTC stream on our channel,
Correct.
and you can see Michael hit with some hunter killers.
yeah, they actually did something.
The Juan Tequila Missile.
They actually did something. Yeah,
That is amazing. But yeah, let's go to round two.
Uh, Andrew's just saying Tassie has a team meeting in 20 minutes. They're going to trash talk us quite a bit, which is great.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
I
We'll
expect
start
nothing
the trash
less.
talking early for next year. And Nathan
Yeah.
says it was great meeting us in Tassie. Welcome back anytime.
Great to meet you
Thank
guys too.
you,
You have to let us
guys.
know what team you're on. I'm all for with names, but you say team, I'm sure I'll know.
Uh,
All right,
there we
round
go.
2.
Round two.
Yeah,
ACT.
yeah. I want to say like the surprise of the event, in terms of performance. I think we played them last year and the year before. I think the year before I think we beat them. The last year we maybe just beat them. But they snuck into our fourth place spot in the overall rankings. So not a team to be messed with this year, and we only just scraped through a draw with them in this round.
This one was interesting because I remember at the start they had Western Australia round 1, didn't they? And they
Yeah.
beat Western Australia, who came second last year,
Yep.
with a lot
Yep.
of the
And
Team Australia players as well. Yeah,
we were expecting Western to be one of the teams. We'd highlight them as one of the teams we expect to be in the top three.
yeah.
That we were targeting as going to be a tough round. ACT were kind of in that pack that we thought of, the chasing pack with ourselves. Um, so no, this was a close round. We paired a dead 80 according to our data into this one.
hmm
So we thought it was going to be close the entire way through. It turned out to be close. This was probably, we're only 4 points off our pairing, so there we go. Got something close to being right.
I reckon that was
Um,
all Tate. That 4 points.
all takes 4 points. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Where's Tate?
Taking his 7
Oh,
points
there.
now into GSC. Yep.
Yes,
And
Tate.
in another round where we led Necrons. So,
Okay,
uh,
no, I'll take it
Okay.
back. It was all Patricia.
It's my
yep.
point, bro. That point to actually.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a wild one again. We had a lot of close games. We had a bad matchup for um, a couple of our players over for what we'd paired off, but overall, this is a bit of a swingy one. So like as you saw there, Pato, your 1 point, a very important point to bring back at the end of the day. But we had you pinned for a few more.
Yeah.
Likewise, we had Hayden and Tate pinned in for a few more. But then
Yeah.
across the board, we managed to pick them up elsewhere. So,
And
Cam winning, Hayden
that
winning.
that's very interesting for the round because I we talk about this with Charlie and Tate after, and it's like one of the things that I realized I did not know how to play that mission, Terraform.
Mm,
Terrible. Never practiced. We never play Terraforms here in our tournaments. and I pushed the panic button when I saw him terraforming turn one, most than one, and it's like did took the complete wrong decision, and then after that was just me trying to not get the 20-0, trying to score as much points as I could, but yeah, it was I couldn't kill Mortarion in one wound for 4 turns. 4 turns.
It it does happen. Yeah, it does happen. But no, a few big swings out of this round. So yeah, Cam into there. Jack
Yes.
Orcs. Yeah, we had a six. If we can bring back six, he brought back 13. So that was a big
Yep.
swing up. Apparently his Tech Marine with the enhancement for mortal wounds and extra attacks or whatever it is cleaned up the majority of the grot brick, the 20 grots plus the character who I won't try to
Wow.
pronounce his name.
Okay.
But
Zodgrod.
some of the
Sorry.
grots were dead, but apparently he picked up actually the entire squad and the character once they wounded a bit. So that's won that game around a bit. And then the other one was that we had Finn into Nurgle Demons, which we didn't have as a great. We had it actually as a loss for Finn. We didn't think he'd be able to push through enough damage into them. That was again wrong data. He was able to push enough damage through. So those two sort of counter swung the swings down,
Yeah.
and got off the line.
Ben also got a good 14 there.
Yep, he
Against Custodes. Yep.
But somehow
Yeah.
we've blanked out his entire thing. I don't. Oh, here he is. We're expecting a small win out of him. He went back to back against Custodes, I think, and beat them handily both times. So yeah,
Nice.
he first rounds he did really well. Actually, the first day one he did really well. He put up 3 good wins for us and sort of constantly overperformed his matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Shout out to Tate and Tim, who were on stream for this round. So if you want to catch that game, it's a very interesting game to watch. Tim on the
Yes.
triple Deathwing Knight, Dark Angels Gladius.
With the banners
With
giving
the
them,
triple Deathwing Agents. Yeah, that was very cool.
yes, giving the additional OC that Tate did not like at all. Yeah. But yeah, this for me, the take it is the mission. I did not know how to play it and screw it up at the end. But
I mean,
that's are the things that you learn here.
yeah. Shout out to Joe as well. I think he ended up being the highest placing Death Guard play at the event overall.
Joe, yeah, he
With
played
only one
very,
loss.
very
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
So very, very good player there as well.
100%.
And yeah, I think ACT had been training since last year, and they've instituted a lot of mandatory games and stepped up their preparation, put in a lot of effort. So very well done for them with their
Yeah,
results.
yeah, massive congrats to them.
100%.
That's also have a new team coming through and pipping us. But no, it was an awesome round. We had a great time. That was a great opponent. We had a very fun game.
Round 3, last round of day 1.
Yeah. Yep. And we had the Battle for
The
New Zealand,
boys.
NZ South. The only round that matters. Because
Yeah.
bragging rights are on the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So while everyone else was playing for ANZTC, we were playing for Top New Zealand team. Clearly.
I feel like we need to maybe that next year we need to start up a little a little trophy that in like sports
Just bring your own trophy. Yeah.
Well, they'll have like little sub competitions within them.
Yeah.
We need like the New Zealand Cup, and it's just whoever places higher or wins the round between New Zealand
North and
New Zealand
South.
South every year. Yeah, have
That's
like a
pretty cool.
little cup going. We'll figure it out, or we'll figure something
I
out.
like that. I like that. Yeah.
That
We've
can be
been
that.
there 3 years in a row now, so it's it feels only right that we should set something up.
To stay to put the dominance there. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, New Zealand South. What was the process here, Michael? I know I went first again.
Yep. Stuck with the plan. You went first.
They didn't have orcs.
No, they're the only team not to take orcs, and for to justify from their side, it kind of makes sense. They didn't have someone that was an orc player primarily. They tested a few people on orcs. They weren't gelling with it as much as they would like, and then they had the same information that we had, which is that Orcs was likely not to be included, so they kind of made that call to not include it, and then when it was included, it was probably a little bit too late for them to put someone back onto it, so they made the call to not take it. So fair enough. You can at the end of the day, there sometimes, as much as you want to take certain things, there is limitations. If you got players that don't play it or you can't get the models, it is a thing. So they were the only team that didn't take it, so that made pairings a little bit easier because we didn't have to pair around them. But yes, so we again we let you out, Pato. Similar kind of thinking here was that we had a pretty okay matrix into them, whereas there's a few tough games for us we were trying to dodge. Taos was always going to be a tough game. We had identified early that our lineup did struggle into
Chaos Knight.
to armor, so we had some answers to it, but we were pretty confident they weren't going to let us have it. So and this was when I think that Finn actually went out quite early, so he I think attacked there. I want to say they led with Bile purely because in the terms of when we wrote down the pairings here on my sheet, that was first. So I think they must have led with Bile and we attacked it with Finn and they took it, probably to get him out of the matrix immediately and then try winning the back end of pairings. So I think we sort of started well in terms of pairings.
Yeah, I had a chat to Ryan and he said, they didn't really prep any lists to counter Orcs per se, but he was, out of all of their lists, he was probably one of the better ones to deal with Orcs overall. Don't know what happened in the actual game.
He got 20 odd. So but I don't know if that's an interesting take. I wouldn't think that Crazy the Wild would be a great Orc counter, but I guess they had this is the thing, everyone has their own data. So no, so I think we started well, and the back end of pairings probably fell out in a way that we were pretty happy with it. So overall, we paired an 88 into this round. We entered to chat to the South boys and see how they thought they paired into us, but we were pretty happy coming out of this. So again, it was a look, hold the course, play for what you've said you're going to get, and if we do, we should come out with a win. And this is when we did swing up. So I think most games in this round swung up. Pato, you had a big swing up into Sean, so well done. We had you down for a 10 and you put 14 on him, so that's an awesome result. Finn obviously 20 over wrong. We were expecting 12 out of that, so 8 more points there. Tate, we always knew was going to have a good game. I think we had him for 12, so he got bang on target. So that's again a good result from him putting up what he said he would. And across the board, we largely scored what we expected or slightly higher. I think the only swing down a little bit was Hayden. We thought he might better get a few more points to the Nids, but overall we largely put up what we were expecting and came out of it with a good win and won the Battle of New Zealand or whatever we're going to call the trophy.
I have to say, Pato did severely dice Sean Sullivan. Severely dice Sean.
I heard.
Yeah.
I engage all the green power and roll 4-ups like they were no tomorrow.
Hey, sometimes you just do that, right? 4-ups with 4-ups. Yeah. Half the time they work every time.
Yes, so all the 4-ups that I did not roll with Joe against Dead Guy, I roll it here with Sean. I give severe trauma, and I owe him some beers.
This is an interesting round, right? Because it is late on day one. We've flown over, and we've flown over a couple of days before, but it's still according to our bodies.
Yeah,
it's late in their night. This round didn't finish until 8:30ish. We went and had dinner. First day, jitters are still there, so it's I always think this is a hard round to play in. So big shout out to everyone on both our teams for having a good fun round. Nothing but good games. The sound of it came out of this one. So no, it was a good round and glad we managed to put it over them. I'd actually had a chat to Finn and pegged New Zealand South to be a pretty good team this year and actually sort of on similar levels to what we were expecting to do. So glad that we got this one over them.
It's because Mephiston killed 2 War Dogs, that's why.
I heard.
Yes, Mephiston.
Mephiston went
Pump it up.
Yeah.
Yep. Caladius or Callas would have never done that.
No, exactly. Good choice.
Round 4, this is day 2.
This
first
was
round,
Queensland.
Queensland.
We had to face the music. Yep, we were sitting in second. We knew if as long as we flew close to the sun, we were going to hit this matchup.
Yeah.
And it was pretty brutal. They won the event. Spoiler alert. They were easily the best team there. They didn't. They only dropped below 100 points in a round once. Um, yeah, they were always going to be hard. We're always playing this one for a draw. Unfortunately, according to our data, we paired below a draw, which meant we had to look for some risks to try and get ourselves in position. And we had a bit of a chat to go, well, actually, do we even risk it, or do we just try and lock in the points that we've earned and accept a loss and try and keep it as close as possible? I don't think it really mattered. There was a lot of, and I think this is a good example of they took a lot of weird teams lists that we just weren't prepped for. So our data was
Yep.
just not right. The Necron list. I mean, Liam Hackett's probably one of the best players in the world, playing one of the few pilots that can make that list really sing. That was always going to be hard for anyone to play into. Eric is Eric. He will just do weird and wonderful things with GSC that no one can understand. And across the board, their team was very strong. So, yep, this was a difficult round to say the least.
Yes.
But we
And I think,
we gave it a shot.
I think you're absolutely right. I think half the army had off-meta lists. The Orcs one was straight up Dakar, pretty standard Dakar list. But
Yep.
if you looked at, say, their Space Marine was a double Land Raider Firestorm list.
Yeah,
Oof.
You don't see that
brutal.
anywhere, but it was
No.
so good at what it was doing. Vulcan coming out giving all sorts of good bonuses, and then the 10-man Infernus. I haven't seen Infernus Marines this entire edition, and it was in the launch box.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was in the winning team's comp. It was just like, so after this, I went back and looked at all of their lists just to go, man, some of these, once you've seen it in action, you kind of know how it works. It's just like, we're playing checkers and they're playing 4D chess at this stage.
Exactly. And then, shout out to Cam. He got a draw. Only one on a team that didn't lose. Playing the Chaos Fiends. So
Yes.
well done there. I was this close to a draw as well. Actually, this close to a win. I just had very bad cards in the last two turns. But yes, it was. That was a tough round. We always knew it was going to be. But it's, look, you learn a lot by playing against the best. And we certainly learned a lot. Hopefully. So
Yeah.
and look, we all had lovely games. They're lovely guys. We had a great time. No one had a bad experience. I mean, we came out of being like, we got humbled, but
I disagree.
Okay,
I
but I had a bad
experience.
time, but not because of Queensland.
Not because of my opponent. Love Alex, amazing player, but I got very sick. So yeah.
Yeah, Queensland almost killed Pato by putting Terracin into him.
I'm going to say that was a straight dagger, as you say here, Michael. The one of the things that I realized that I was not table as not agnostic with this one, because when I saw the table, that and this one is the one that I did not win first, so we did not pick a table for. They pick up the table, and when I saw the table, I was like, okay, cool, I'm fucked. I don't have anywhere to hide. All the objectives are wide in the open, and this guy wants to shoot, 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 shoot. Um, and I was like, cool, excellent.
Yep, yep, and just another example of if we're a bit more hard prep, map pick was one of the things we probably didn't prep well enough either. Was we had people that when you need a table pick, like Doug Moore, we usually try to get a table pick, but we're doing it in the round, not doing it. While we're pairing, we're going, hey, can you tell us what tables you can't play? Rather than going in with the data, knowing who we're trying to protect. Players like myself were generally taking whatever we needed to free up the good tables for the rest of the team. But we didn't know what those were.
I think that is interesting because one of the things that we talked with Ryan that they prepare some of the tables and they have a system to rate the tables, and I guess the next level should be you have your pairing or your metrics, but your metrics variates or have a ponderation based on the map. So if you get this map, well, that prediction goes from the 10-10 to a 5 or maybe goes higher, and I think that's the next level on the data.
Exactly. Yep. And look, I think the other thing this round is this is a good example of where we probably weren't prepared to lose, in the sense of
Yeah.
if we'd gone in with the mindset of we were all going to lose, but we were all going to play our losing game, that's quite different. And I think that's a big learning out of WTC we're taking as well, is how can we get more in the mindset of playing a losing game, which sounds really like defeatist, but it's not. It's a sometimes you
It's a
have to accept you're not.
defensive.
Yeah, you're not going to win this game, and I'm not saying everyone has to play it, but like certain players on your team, if you get paired into a bad game matchup intentionally, it's how can you switch your mindset from singles, which is I'm going to go try and win this because if I lose, it doesn't matter how much I lose by, to I'm going into this with the intention of losing, but how do I lose just and
Yes.
play
Yep.
differently
As
to
close as
lose?
possible.
Yeah, it's a very different mindset that I think we've got some room to grow on how
Yep.
we play that. But no, it's a fun round.
Yep. When
I
did you
think a lot
call
of learning
the
here.
when did you call the all in, take all risks?
Pretty
I heard
early.
there was a call made. Yeah.
Pretty early. The data came back pretty quickly that we were down on pretty much every table.
Yeah.
And so the call was at that point it's pretty hard. We were at that point we as if we were pairing a loss and then we were down, so we were
Yeah.
losing anyway. So it was
Yeah.
a look. Anyone do what they can. If you want to take a risk at this point, take a risk. We're not bringing back a lot of points anyway, so it's not like we're risking a lot of points. So yep, that's probably why. Maybe we could have squeaked out a couple more draws there if everyone had played a bit more cagey. But I think just the
Difficult.
lack of preparation meant that that was always gonna be hard.
Yep.
The best thing from the round, I guess, was the data, the data and the learning.
Exactly. Yep.
If you want to watch the streaming, table 4, Liam Hackett and Ben, masterclass of how to move 40 warrior necrons and take the whole board. That's your your watch. Day
Yep.
2, the first round.
Yep.
Let's bring round number 5.
Yeah.
And this one is the one that we went to the streaming table from Risky Rollers. So
Yes,
is the
you're on the
first time that
mainstream.
we move. So we went down. This round we put New Zealand South in the streaming upstairs with Charlie, and we took the table seat 1 downstairs. Is this going to load or is going to be waiting all night?
Yeah, I'm interested in hear your guys talk about this one because I wasn't there. I don't actually know what happened.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were not there.
Well,
The
what even
pairings is
was
all in the streaming.
mine's here, so I can talk about it. We played Northern Territories, who we've never actually played before. I think it's our second year at the event. Um, this was an interesting one because I think what happened here, we were sitting in third and they were sitting in last. And I think what happened here is that because all the teams sort of like 5 to 10 had already played each other,
Mm,
it meant that the top teams, as it starts pairing down, because it usually pairs top down, it was sort of pair through the top few teams, but then get to the bottom and go, well, they can't play because they've all played each other. So what ended up happening is most of the top teams ended up playing into the bottom teams,
yes.
just because that was the only permutations of games that it could make. Um, so yeah, there's an interesting round. Or a few teams didn't. Like I think Vic played Queensland or New South Wales, but then in the following round got Northern Territories.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's just what happens when you have 10 teams in a 6 round event. Like you are just going to get to a point where top teams are going to have to play further down. So we got that break this round. Not to say that Northern Territories is a walkover. We treated it pretty seriously because we knew that this was a round that we could and should win and should put points on them. So that should jump us back up into second place, which would, as you said earlier, Pato, give us the chance to actually compete for second
Yeah.
or third. So no, this is an interesting round. On the Risk Roller stream, you said our entire pairings was live streamed, so you can go and watch it if you'd like. Largely, we had a pretty good matrix into them. We're pretty happy how we came out of it. We came out of it with an 89 overall, because again, we paired player agnostic and team agnostic. We just looked at the lists. We didn't want to take skill into it. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. We just wanted to pair based on what was in front of us. So we're pretty happy how we paired overall here, knowing that probably an opportunity to push a couple of these games a bit further once we're in a sort of safe position where the realm was locked up. So that is sort of largely what happened overall. Is we a couple of us got into good position and were able to put the foot down and put some scores on them.
And who was on stream on the Risky Roller stream?
Ben was.
Ben.
So
Ben again, back to
yeah,
back.
they had a few players that didn't want to play on stream, and that's completely fair. Totally understand it. They also had a few players that went, look, these guys have been 20-0'd most of the event. We don't want to put on a bad show. We want to put an interesting close game on. So the Ristrola guys came and said, hey, we want one of these 3 games on the stream. A couple of them they vetoed and went, no, we don't think that'd be the best for for the audience watching. So we decided Ben versus their Sisters of Battle list was the best game we could put on stream, and it turned out to be one of their best results. A 10-10 draw into Ben.
Awesome. I have to catch that game. Didn't see that one.
Yes.
It's a very interesting Sisters list. It was it's like 3 squads of Paragon Warsuits and an Exorcist and a bunch of tanks. It's like a very tank-heavy, vehicle-heavy list, but in Helamatis. So, yeah, very interesting.
Interesting.
So, I got
Sounds like my kind of list.
Information. Yeah, it was cool game. So, I haven't watched it all back, but I got a bit of a TLDR from Ben. So,
yeah.
Nice. I took the Orcs in this one. This time, I think I was first again, and we managed to pick table. And this one was linchpin, where you have same as the round 4, but there was one of the maps where you have a triangle with terrain on your expansion, and you can your opponent can't do anything; needs to go inside of the ruin to shoot you. And I thought that was going to be the best one to defend against orcs, and ended up being the right decision. Managed to put all the raids in the objective, and pretty much take I was like not going to go for anything else that my expansion and my secondaries. Is like I don't want to play this game with you. Ended up working.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the theory of what we wanted to do. You did it, so it's all we can really ask for. No, it's a good result. And good results across the board.
Yes.
Everyone did what we asked them to do. Finn doing what he does and putting a good result, putting 20 up on someone. Tate putting a good score on their Tyranids. Hayden getting a win in, which was nice for him against some Chaos Knights. Cam putting up results, Dougmore putting up results. So no, it was a good round for us. A good sort of primer leading into the last round to really bump our score up. And
you got Custodes, also a very good result there, Michael.
Yeah, thankfully I got a table I wanted. Somehow that table fell through in pairings to right at the end when I was being picked, and unfortunately for my opponent, it was one of those tables with the middle was completely open. A lot of the linchpin ones are a bit like that. Sorry, tipping points ones are a bit like that, where there's just like 2 crate stacks in the middle, and his custode list had no Caladiuses, which I like, but the problem there meant that I had no respect for his shooting. So my shooting platform just stood in the open near the midboard and went, I dare you to try. And they didn't. So, he played a very passive game, but I was going second, which is never a winning combo, but I think he kind of knew early on that was going to be the case. So, lovely guy, though. Got some very cool dice. Roll awfully, though. Northern Territory guys, I don't know how you get your dice through, but they roll atrociously.
Talk to us. We'll sort you out for good dice next time.
No. Keep your bad dice. Very cool looking dice. I very appreciate the pack that we got from you guys.
Yeah, I got some dice from them too. There's the orange one, eh?
Yeah, with the Northern Territory state flower.
Yeah,
or
flower. Yeah. I have a couple of those ones. Yeah,
Bro, where's mine? You didn't give me one.
I have for you.
Okay, that's better.
It's a good round. Overall, we managed to score high, put us back to the second place again.
Yep. And if it was only 5 rounds, it should have been. We could have ended there. Taking us first place.
That's we
5
can
rounds.
No,
end the discussion here and just claim we got second. It's fine.
Yeah,
they,
but 6th round happened.
The sixth
yeah.
round happened.
Yeah, the round 6. Um, I also, well, this is a note on side, but there was people or teams that they booked their flights thinking there was 5 rounds, and then they needed to do a massive hassle apparently to change their flights.
All right, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, there is.
not
There,
ideal.
I hear some people because they book in way in advance before that all the players pack and everything was sorted. But
Right,
um, so we are back on table 4.
back to our
Yes,
ancestral home. Yep.
back to home.
This was me welcoming a group of very cheery guys up the stairs, up the elevator.
This one was last round. Very tired, to be honest. Very tired with the 6th round.
Yep.
I I would prefer not to play, not because of the result that we had, but it's because you travel. Playing a high level of these games are quite draining. Your energy is get, and I got the beginning of the round 4. I got very sick, so I was kind of like wanting to just go to sleep, like a grandpa.
Mm.
Fortunately, I'm not one yet. So yeah, interesting. Michael, what happened here? What was the? Don't tell me we dropped the Necrons first.
No, this is one where Hayden let out. We,
Oh, excellent. That's the other one, the Hayden laid up. Excellent.
yep, we let our old reliable lead out on this one.
Oh,
I think I shared
sorry.
on
Righto.
Facebook. There you go.
What are you doing? Bring back the scores.
Quickly,
Sorry,
look at those
sorry, sorry, sorry.
messages.
Look at those
Give me a
messages.
second.
There we go.
Sorry. Errors of the. I'm not sharing a screen. I'm
That's
sorry.
all
I'm
right.
sharing the
We'll
screen.
forgive
Forever
you.
online now.
Yeah, we saw your
Doesn't matter.
messages. Saw your little entry. No, so we let Hayden this one. This is always an interesting one. New South Wales was really good this year. They came second, no third. They came third this year,
Third.
or second.
Yes.
No, they came second. They beat us
No,
because we
they
were
did.
tied.
Yes.
We were dead tied coming into this, so we were both of our teams were on the same round points and the exact same battle points. So it was literally down to if we drew, whoever got the winning side of the draw would come second, the other would come third, most likely.
No.
Depending on results
Potentially
of
So
fourth because ATT was
Queensland.
chasing us.
Vic. So if we drew, Vic comes second because they were only
Right. Yep.
half a round point behind us, and they had way more battle points.
That's right. Yeah,
Yep.
so we're playing off of basically third, or if it was a clear winner, to take second. So, first of all, it's going to be interesting. We paired, according to our data, into a 90, which we're obviously happy with, but as you can see here, our data was not correct. We got half of that. And actually, the challenge here is just the 6th round of a team tournament where the rounds were not long, but I think that actually plays against you because it means that you are under such time pressure that you're never really switching off. The breaks were massively long either. Yeah, I guess we're spoilt playing in WTC, which was my last major team event. So, having 4-hour rounds and like hour and a half breaks ruins anything else for you. But no, we thought we paired well, and the plan here was always to try and draw this one. If we could engineer a win, we'd happily take it. But we're trying to play for a draw to lock in at least 4th place. Unfortunately, that isn't what happened here. A few results didn't go away. I think New South Wales had clearly planned, prepped a lot more. They had like 6 coaches there or something. We had one great coach, but just one.
An amazing coach.
Yeah, and a few things here. So, like Finn in this one, unfortunately, we had to throw him at Iglesias because the way he was often falling into the back 4 meant that him taking that matchup, and the same in the previous round, taking Eric, in theory, according to our data, gave us more points, even though Finn was there to score big with Daka. Him taking that matchup enabled better scoring matchups in the other 3 pairings in that back 4. Was at least the theory. Not how it played out, unfortunately. Played out very similar to the Queensland round where we didn't get many wins here. A couple of things didn't quite go our way. The Doug Moore game was always going to be highly volatile. We had it, volatile in our favour. Unfortunately, the volatility went against us.
I
And
think,
just a few
yeah,
things here and there just didn't. Yeah, this was a tough round for us. Just little things didn't go quite right, and it was pretty clear about an hour into this one that we were going down. When Matt comes over and tells me that one of our matchups is -13, it's always going to be tough to come back from. I
yeah,
think he came over and it was just negatives across the board, which is no light on anyone here. It is what it is, and at that point it was a look, do what you can, but fight for everything you can fight for. But if in the event we're going down, we're going down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
He,
turn two, Matt came over and said, Doug just said he's either getting 20 or getting 0, and he doesn't
Yep,
know which one. Yeah.
we're holding on for the 20 from our way, but because that could have changed things a bit, that could have brought us a bit closer to a draw, which we then could
Yeah.
have changed a little bit how we approached it. But yeah, just talking to everyone, Admech we had no real prep into, because I'm probably the only person that plays it, and we hadn't put any prep in on it because I was so busy faction hopping. The talk about taking this game. The guard mirror was not ideally what we wanted, but it's what we had to take because of pairings. Cam's game just sounded like he just couldn't quite kill things, and everything just sort of hit him hard returns. So every game just didn't quite go away. But yeah, it was a fun round. They rightfully deserved to beat us this year. We drew with them. Did we draw them? I think we drew with them last year. We got like the winning side of a draw last year. So
In
um,
pods, yes, I remember that.
yeah,
Yep.
they were in our pod initially, and by drawing with them, we knocked them out of the top 4 locked placings on day 2, which we jumped into because of us drawing with them. So they got one back on us this year. So fair is fair.
yeah. Here Tate got the Gorgon out. I think this was the matchup.
Yes.
Yep, he got Gorgon ordered. Again, another one where we thought we had it figured out, but we clearly had not gone into detail of figuring
Yep.
out that there was a Gorgon.
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking about the Gorgon out after the or through the night. Was quite fun. Um, I got a tie, and Woody again. I think the green dice power um, emerge. He couldn't kill me. I refused to die, and I was winning this one 13-7,
Mm.
but he got the bottom of turn on taken hole. So what he did was just put the stuff on the objectives and score 15, and that's it. Because it was a war
Yeah.
of attrition at the end of the day. It was a
It,
very, very fun game with Woody. I know the space well very well, so I knew what they could do.
mm.
But yeah, I was was a very, very fun game.
Yeah, and again, great games across the board. We had a great round into New South. Yeah, nothing bad to say. They beat us and whooped our
Yeah,
ass fair and
fair and
square, and
square.
thoroughly deserved their second place.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it knocked us a fair few rungs down, but that just is what it is. It's always going to be tight at the top, and as I said earlier, some of the chasing teams got these easier pairings that we got in the previous round, so we're able to put big scores up and jump back above us. So we always knew, based on the pairings of the last round, that we really had to draw it to have any chance at getting in the top 4. A loss would almost certainly mean that we dropped to 5th, and
yeah,
that's what happened.
Yep.
yeah.
And
Here is
Michael
the
was on stream for round 6. So if you want to catch Michael versus Kirby's Chaos Knights, catch that on the stream for the final game. It was a very,
yes.
very cool game to watch.
It was a fun game. Kirby is a lot of fun. So we had and the nice thing about that one is, halfway through the round, we pretty much realized that our result was almost irrelevant. Not that stopped us playing for as many points as we could. There was still pride of winning on the line, and I almost got there. But similar to your game, Pato, I was up,
Yes.
but bottom of turn scoring and Chaos Knights with 6 objectives on the board.
Yeah, they can.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
held
this.
them to 5 once, and I was like, "Am I just gonna win this?" And then no, they scored 30
Yeah,
over the last 2 turns on primary, or something like that. So it was
Yep.
Yeah, tight game.
Yeah, it is. And well, here we have the last standing. It's interesting. Like Queensland could have not even played the last round,
And they would have won.
a- and they still won the game. So technically, that sixth round was irrelevant for the first place, in theory,
Yep.
because they
Yep.
play West Australia on the last round, I think.
Yep. Yep. But they handled them thoroughly. So no, they well deserved their win.
Yeah,
And look, if you look at the results, right, like Queensland beat us handedly, New South Wales beat us handedly, Vic we
yep,
didn't play, ACT we got the losing side of a draw with. So if, all things considered, we're actually exactly where we probably should have been. We were,
yeah,
the teams that beat us are above us. The teams that got the winning side of the draw against us are just above us. Then we're there, and then everyone below us we either didn't play or we beat. So I think we can't complain. We were targeting, in an ideal world, trying our best to sneak into the top four. We always knew it was going to be tough. So
Mm.
having going into that last round in second place with a genuine shot at second place um, is pretty awesome. And the last result, being put aside, I think it was a really good showing from us, and hopefully shows that with a better prep time and lead up next year, we could be really in the hunt for one of those top three spots, and maybe we'll get over the hump next year.
yeah. Um, tough competition. You're right, Michael. There, preparation of act. You saw that. I think that what I understand, what Charlie have tell me is they step up a lot in the game. They have been put a lot of work. Um, came with a massive team. Shout to the team that they were feeding us. Also, I got a couple of chocolates from them.
Yep.
um, And yeah, nothing to say. Queensland and New South Wales deserve that win there.
Yeah.
No, I'm quite happy. I remember first year when we went over to, it was in Brisbane to play NZTC. That was my first one. We didn't even get close to playing Queensland. So the fact that we got to play Queensland this year, showed up, was in that position for a podium, I think shows how far we've come as a team as well, and how instead of, you've got new people on the team, you're cycling people in and out. It's come to a pretty mature stage now.
Yeah, and as I said to the same, look, what I was proud of is that when we played those top teams, we didn't play them because we were in sixth and the way the pairings happened that they had to pair down to us, right? We played them because we were the next best team on the rankings behind them.
Correct.
Disregarding however we managed to get there, the times when we played Queensland, they were one, we were two. When we played New South Wales, we were two, they were three. So like we were,
Yeah.
we were playing them in a position of strength, not in a position of, weird pairings. So that I think we can hold our head on and be really proud on that we were there and we were competing the entire event, and it just shows that top grouping is so close that we went from second to you know
Fifth.
to fifth in one loss. And if it was 5 rounds, who knows what could have happened. So hopefully, I think next year there's been discussion that it's going to go back to 5. I think I totally appreciate that a lot of people travel. We travel quite a way to get there as well. But I think a lot of us were pretty shattered come that last round. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next year. If it's 5, if they go back to pods, I'm always a fan of pods, but I understand at 10s it is a bit weird.
It's hard. The pods were weird last year. Yeah, I think Swiss
they were very weird.
is a bit better. Yeah.
Yep, Swiss with this year the way they did it was seeded. So your rankings in the past few years determined where you seeded into, and you played.
Okay.
So Queensland I think was seeded 1, so they played. No, it was meant to be that, and then they randomised it. So in the players, I think it was meant to be seeded.
Yes.
They then decided, the captains voted, or the committee, or whoever decides things, just voted that no, they're going to randomise it. But I think that was the intention. Was that the top place team over the last 3 years would play the 10th, second place 9th, etc. So you get a bonus, you get an easier round 1 if you placed well over the last few years.
Right. So it's like one massive pod.
Basically, it's
Kind
functioning
of.
one massive. It's functioning one massive pod. where seed 1 plays seed 10, if you want to call it that, and
Yeah.
Swiss completely from there.
Yeah.
I think as it panned out, we've probably been averaging around fourth. We've come fourth, fifth. So I think we would have
Yeah.
likely played South Australia anyway. So
Yeah.
you would have played someone like South or ACT anyway. So it's not like we missed out or got an easy or a hard matchup. I think we got exactly what we would have got anyway. So
Yeah.
no complaints from us.
I mean,
But yeah,
if it was pods, we could have played South twice. There you go.
we could have. So, but no, it was another awesome ANZTC. Big shout out to the guys in Tasmania for putting it on for us.
It was a very well run event, I have to say.
Yep.
Very, very polished.
All three of us here run events. We know how hard it is to run them. Big appreciation for the guys for putting on a good event, for accommodating our neediness and needing to be on a stream 5 out of 6 rounds, which was mostly so we could stay in the best spot in the venue. But that was massively appreciated. The help they gave, all the TOs and my interaction with them were fantastic. They were all wonderful people, and everyone we played, we had awesome rounds with. So shout out to all of our opponents. You're all awesome. We'll be back next year for a vengeance. We're coming for that top 3 spot.
Revenge.
Excellent.
Yeah. And who knows where it'll be next year. It's part of the fun of it.
Yeah. Is James Waddle going to drop out for a 3rd year in a row? We'll never know.
Well, we'll never know. We'll see. He might. Maybe this next year, if he's going to get selected on the team, he might have to have pre-purchased his tickets.
Yes.
But no, like we understand life happens. It's
No, it's No.
It's just funny. It's just for funny. The meme.
It is for the memes. We're not taking
it's like Tate being late. That is the meme.
He was on time, but that was probably only because we stayed at the venue.
Yes.
It's definitely a nice to have. If we run it next year, please run it at a hotel where we can stay in the venue.
Oh, so nice. Yeah.
Being able to wake up and roll out of bed and just have a shower and go and play was awesome.
Yeah. I did have to wake Tate up though. So that was smart, putting Tate in my room. I did have to wake him up.
He wasn't happy on Saturday morning when we got the times wrong and thought the round started at 8 and I woke him up at 7 o'clock being like, we're meeting outside in 20 minutes. And then someone went, when does the round start? Are you sure it's 8 o'clock? And no, it was 9 o'clock.
See, I read the players pack. So I set my alarm in accordance with the players pack.
Someone just told me it was 8. And I was like, that sounds believable. It's 3 rounds in a day at 3 hours 15. Like, yeah, of course it's going to start at 8. So we leave a reasonable time.
But yeah, he was not happy. He almost did not arrive at all to Australia. There was doubt that he knew where the event was when we told you guys that he was in Brisbane.
Yeah, it was a real adventure getting our team of 8 there, but I'm glad we did. Maybe next time we'll get people to pre-purchase the flights before they're confirmed in the team, rather than booking them 2 days before we all travelled.
Well, the good stuff that Tate is over there now, so it's easier.
Exactly.
If
he'll still get lost, man. He'll still get lost.
Even if it's being hosted in Melbourne, he'll still turn up late.
Probably, yeah.
100%.
We'll find a way that doing it that everybody's stressed about that. But yeah, now I really enjoy the experience. So first of all, thank you to the team to allow me to play and represent New Zealand North. I was very, very happy, and yeah, tried to put as much effort that I could to get the reps and the metrics. Family happens. We all have stuff around. But yeah, it was a lot of learning. I will take everything. We were talking with Charlie when we were flying back around all the things that we learned. Charlie, this is not his first event, but he got a lot of, even if it's an event that he has been a couple of times at WTC, he had new stuff that he got from this. And I think that's the most important. You go there, have a good time, represent and do play sports, behave, because there is a reputation for New Zealand of the way that you want to, um, you know, the name of New Zealand needs to have a standard. But also, yeah, learning. I will say a lot of. I learned a lot of stuff, and I'm very grateful for that. So yeah.
And look, thanks for stepping in and playing. Both yourself and Tate did really well for first timers. My first time there, I lost every single game on Orcs and created what is now known as the Sad War.
Sad
So
war.
it's not easy playing international teams
Yeah.
against one of the stronger countries in the world for teams events. So it was great to get you guys there and give you a taste of it and get you into the system and expose some new players, because at some point some of us might not go back, and we want to make sure that we leave the team in a better spot than we found it, and have the next generation of people starting to come through and be ready to take up the mantle
Yeah.
and continue New
Well,
Zealand forward.
I'm not much of a new generation, but yeah.
No, you're kind of
I'm in the same generation of Grandpa Courage, but yeah, I know what you mean.
He's that one mature student in your first year class. Yeah.
Exactly. The one that sits in the front of the class and tries way too hard and answers all the questions from the lecturer.
Yeah.
I'm the other way around, man. I sit in the back and do nothing. That's my style. But yeah,
So
go, Charlie. Sorry.
I was gonna say, now that ANZTC is all done and dusted, massive learnings. Everyone's back. We've basically all taken a week off and not talked about 40K.
Max,
I guess
you've been playing.
WTC is next.
Yes, he is next. So
full on prep mode.
Yeah, so Team New Zealand North and New Zealand South now combine forces again. The majority of the two teams are involved in WTC. So the WTC team was all there in some capacity across the two teams, and most of the coaches were there as well. So, we go back into full prep mode now with, I think, taking a lot of really good learnings from our results at ANZTC, and are going to look at how we do better than maybe our prep was for ANZTC for WTC. So, we're well into prep mode for that now. There's lots of discussions going on at the moment. Lots of practice games now even being kicked off again. So, we're fully into prep mode now for WTC.
Yeah, and lots of changes coming up, right? So we've got World Eaters and Death Guard out this weekend, I believe, this Saturday, 10th. We've got potentially a balance update in June, just before list submission in July. We might even get the Imperial Knight and potentially Chaos Knight codexes before WTC as well. So
don't forget the Space Wolves and
no one cares about
T-Suns.
No one cares about Space Wolves. No, but that the models, the new Space Wolf models look amazing.
Oof,
I have to say.
man.
Yeah.
My wallet.
So lots of changes, lots of new things happening. With the balance update, I believe there's going to be 2 new detachments as well. They said every balance update they're going to release 2 more detachments. So you're potentially going in with 30 new detachments into WTC list design. So
don't forget about the potential change of the mission packs.
Oh yes, so mission packs were teased and then disappeared, and we haven't heard anything. That's going to be super interesting. It could be 10 point. We had 10.5 last year at WTC with all the changes. This can be 10.7.
It is. It was always a hard thing with going into the WTC timing. Is there's a lot of changes to come. So we will prep the best we can. Having to crystal ball gaze a little bit, but trying to work with what's in front of us right now. So the prep is definitely well underway.
Yeah, lots of models to paint, Michael?
Always.
Yeah.
My desk is covered in a certain faction, and I will not say what that is.
Yes.
Oh,
keep it there. Keep it.
Is it the one you offered to sell and now you might not sell anymore?
No.
No.
No, not that one. Okay.
No.
I know what Michael is cooking there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael, you also now have a venue locked and loaded for the NCTC
Oh
that
yes.
Yes.
is happening next month.
Yeah, we're in April now, so June. Yeah, it is next month.
Yeah,
Not cutting it fine at all. So yes, we've as we have uh, expanded the numbers before we did anything to check in terms of venues. It's been a couple of weeks, and ANZTC was right in the middle of it. So appreciate everyone being patient as we term things. But we have got a new venue. It's going to be at the Parnell Hotel and Conference Centre. So that is uh, just down the road from where our previous venue was. The actual conference center is bigger. It's like the Bridge Club where it's 2 stories, except this time the bigger space is upstairs, the smaller space is downstairs. But there's also a
Right.
bar there that's going to be open for us. We're going to go out to Captain soon, but there's going to be a potential for lunch as well. If people want to pay for that, they can have lunch provided both days. Um, yeah, it's new, it's exciting. You can stay on site as well. Speak from experience as someone that just did that for ANZTC, it is lovely. So if you're coming from out of town, or if you live in Auckland and just want a week, a night away, you can
you can
stay.
stay there.
Literally, like I was looking at some of the rooms when I was walking around there last week when I was looking at it. There are some of the rooms that are connected by like a boardwalk straight into the venue. So you can literally wake up and just waddle on into the venue if you wanted to do that. So yep, that is all confirmed. We're just sort of working through now what that means in terms of price support and everything else, because as we found out, a small increase in venue size has a drastic increase in price. So
Yeah,
Yep.
we're working through that now. But yeah, the main thing is we've got a new, bigger and better venue with a bar, with potentially food available, and still very close to where we usually host them. So
Awesome.
it's yeah, it's a exciting new place. Not saying we're going to use it for every event coming up, but especially for bigger ones, we now know we've got a place we can use. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Very much looking forward to. Must be the first 8-person teams event in recent times, or post-COVID at least, that I've seen.
we think so
Yeah,
in New Zealand.
very very excited.
We think it's breaking a whole lot of records. One of the first 8-player team events in New Zealand. What we
yep.
believe is the biggest team event ever held in New Zealand. Where we
Mm.
won't pin our hat and say it 100% is, because people will have a whinge online if we claim that. So we'll
20
cross
years
that
ago.
bridge.
Any publicity is good publicity, Michael. So
Yeah.
let's go.
Someone will. The biggest team event in New Zealand history, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk,
Yeah.
Yeah,
unless you can prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to put more things like all of one game, all in one room. I don't know, but no, we're
10th
very
edition.
excited.
Just say biggest teams event of 10th
There we
edition
go.
in
We're
New
pretty
Zealand.
confident in
Yeah.
that one. So
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and thanks to you guys as well for supporting. We're set up to run 80-player events, but when we sold out in 10 minutes and still had teams messaging me going, please, please, please let us play. We've bought flights. We didn't realize how fast it was going to sell out. We kind of, our eyes widened and went, this is an opportunity that we can't miss. So, yep,
Yeah.
we are 112 players is going to be something to behold for New Zealand standards. That's very impressive. So we're
Yeah.
very excited for it all. So yeah, I know teams are well underway. Dan, I've dropped out playing to be able to TO it. So Dan and myself will TO the event. And speaking of Dan, before we wrap up on ANZTC, we've had votes in the background. So Dan Hayden will be captaining ANZTC next year. I will be vice captaining or co-captaining or sort of supporting him next year. So I'll still be involved in captaincy, but Dan will take a lot of the lead next year for the team. So
And
exciting stuff.
Awesome.
we also have the new rep. Um, Jonty will Hayden after years and years and years,
Decades. Decades.
decades of being the rep, and is
Putting up with
stepping
Australians.
down. Yes, giving the torch to new blood. Um, so yeah, there is some changes there too. But yeah, very, very, very good. Just looking a teams event that happened back home in Chile. There was a teams event, I think the same weekend of ANZTC. Um, but this is weird. 6-man team.
Mm.
Interesting.
an odd size. I mean, you guys have
Yeah.
your team event coming up, right? I am playing in that one. I'm excited for that one.
Yes, we. Oh, you yeah. You managed to. Ours is on the 24th, 25th of May. So it's what,
3
3 weeks
weeks. Yep.
Just under
ish.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Just under.
We have most of the logistics sorted by miracle. Um, um,
He messages me this morning, Charlie, the 3D printer's broken.
Now I said I have an issue with the 3D printer. I fix it.
uh,
It was just support, but
okay.
for the massive chainsaw, um, I almost have the six chainsaw ready to go. Just need to print a little bit more. But yeah, quite. We are very looking forward for that one because it's a big event for us. Also testing new venue, but we still have two tickets open to sell, and we will like to have those tickets gone so we can have pods. Otherwise, we will need to play around with that, which kind of like defeat the purpose. But it is what it is
No,
at the end
still
of
be
the day.
fun, just slightly different. I mean, I think everyone does enjoy the pod system a little bit more as well. So hopefully we can find two more teams to fill the last two spots. We've got an even spread. It's
Yes,
gone to pods. But no,
yes,
everything is
yes,
on
yes.
track. Very much look forward to hosting that one.
I agree
Seeing
with you,
everyone there.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. Well, I guess we anything else, Michael, that you would like to add with the ANZTC? Um, Anything that WTC players are doing for? I know that there is some what's the name fundraising in the South Island. Um, I'm guessing there is going to be a couple of fundraising here too. There is an event happening on the 17th or 18th.
17th in
Uh,
Whangarei.
Yes, 17th of Fungi. Yeah.
Yeah.
that is a fundraising, directly fundraising for ANZTC. It's anything else that we are missing there that people we want to tell them to help us.
No, yeah, hosting events in Christchurch. The guys that are on the team out of Christchurch, check their Christchurch 40K Facebook page for the events they're running. I think Wellington's planning to do a couple of them. We've got the one at North on the 17th. NZTC is also a fundraiser, so we're making a pretty sizable donation off the ticket sales to the WC team, which would be awesome. So anyone that's coming along to that is supporting it. We might even have a few giveaways or prizes or things there that you can get your hands on. So yeah, just coming along to that one is going to support the team as well. Otherwise, if you haven't followed the Team NZ page, keep an eye on it. We'll have stuff sort of constantly going up on there. We're still sort of doing player profiles as we get closer to having merch if there's any available. Granted, it's quite a bit of effort, so we'll see if we do it again this year. But we might have something for you guys, and then yeah, for ANZTC to sort of summarize it or wrap it up. Usually once we're back from WTC, because Dan and I are both involved in WT this year. Myself as a player, Dan is our head coach. We will sit down and work through how we're going to do applications. We may open it before WTC. Likely we'll open it just after. So if playing for New Zealand North is something that you've been thinking about doing, then keep an eye on Facebook on 40K NZ. We'll update on there as more information becomes available. But yeah, definitely I'd say if you're thinking about it, when the time comes, apply for it. Even if you're not sure about playing, think about coming along as a coach. We're definitely looking for coaches as well. Matt, Charlie, you can test to coaching it. It's a cool experience if nothing else. We know it's
It's
a big commitment, but
yeah.
we need coaches, so we'd love to have you.
It
It's
is.
also very
It's also a
rewarding.
big learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was going to say it's actually very
I guess it's
rewarding
a.
doing coaching. The levels of play that you see, and being able to see across the entire round, all 8 games, and monitor the progress, you take away a lot from it. It's not I'm not playing, so I'm not learning anything. It's actually kind of almost like at a next level type
Yeah.
experience. Highly recommend it. Sorry, Pato?
Yeah, I would say that it is a lot of learning when you are in there doing the coaching. You need to, yeah, I guess everything helps, but the need of coaches is quite important. The team need that support. Without that support, nothing that the team does makes it is the same. um, and I guess um, for example, if we did not have any of our like Matt at the end of the day in the coaching team, for ANZTC, we couldn't maybe have get the results in some of the runs that we had, because the decisions were not going to be able to made with the data that you, Michael, needed to
Mm.
analyze during that. So all the hands on deck, you learn a lot, and it's a very cool experience. 100% recommended. Go as a coach or apply as a player, but coaches are very needed.
Yep, yep. That's a great pathway to getting on the team and have your name in there. You know, if you're not quite, not quite there as a player yet, going along as a coach really shows intent that you're wanting to learn and be a part of the team, and will really help in coming years in putting your name forward and going. Look, I've been there, done that. I've got the experience now. I'm ready to make that jump. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely be a part
And
of
I
it.
mean,
Otherwise,
being a coach is not about not playing as well, because you are part of the squad prepping. You are playing. You're offering playing meta armies or counter meta armies that the playing team need practice into as well. So coaches are by no means just there to support. They are an active playing role in the wider squad as well. So absolutely, if you're looking to skill up, get more into the competitive top levels of competitive 40k, it's a great way to start.
100%. 100%. Um, yeah. Uh, I
I
think
think that,
that we cover everything. Yeah. Um,
yeah, that's us.
really, really cool to have you back here, Michael. It's always a pleasure to be able to interview, and I know that people likes the insights that you bring. As I said at the beginning, I think your videos normally are the ones with more views.
just
um,
got to bring me on more.
yes,
Oh,
and we are going to try, I guess, to see if we can do some interviews this year for the team members again, for WTC. Once the things are a little bit more, settled, um, and have to help to promote the team. We are sponsoring WTC team, the Team New Zealand. Um, the idea, it is try to help the team to achieve goals for this, yeah, for this year.
yeah, we greatly appreciate it. It's your logo will look great on the back of the shirts, which we've almost got the designs back for. We'll do a preview once
Excellent,
they're available, but they're new and improved this year. They're gonna look very cool.
excellent. That sounds amazing. Cool,
Awesome. Well,
Michael.
thank you very much, Michael. Thank you for your time.
No
We'll
worries.
wrap it up here. No more
Yes.
questions and comments. Just Cam talking about he was a god with the only draw in Queensland. We can ignore him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
he got great
Five
draws all
rounds, New
weekend.
Zealand.
yeah,
Well,
We
I
babied him
got
all
the
weekend.
I
yeah,
got the only draw against New South Wales. So come on.
There you go. You and Cam carried us.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Clearly, awesome. Thank you everyone for listening. Hope it
Yes.
was interesting. It's definitely a really cool weekend. And if you're thinking about joining, talk to Michael. He's co-captaining ish. We'll
Something like
find
that.
out what the application process looks like. And with that,
Yes.
we'll say goodnight.
Good night. Thank you, everybody. Michael, have a good one. We'll see you in the next one.
Kakite.
Stay spicy. Excellent.
Now Michael has to go.